Good morning, everyone. Dan Bates, President and CEO, Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, and we are glad you could join us this morning for Coffee and Conversations. Today, we're going to hear from Bill from Stop Pest Control, and he's going to be talking about summer pests and what you need to be prepared and what you need to look for and do and all those kinds of things. So, at the end of this session today, you're going to be well educated on getting ready for summer pests. So, um, we are on Zoom, so if you are on Zoom, I'm sure Bill won't mind if you interrupt him to ask questions. If you're on Facebook Live, type your questions in and we will get them answered for you by the speaker. So with that, I think, Tiffany, you're doing self-introductions?
Yes. All right. I'm Tiffany Grubb, Director of Marketing at the Greater Hamilton Chamber. I'm just going to go around my screen, introduce yourself and what company you're with. We'll start with Lisa.
Hi, good morning. I'm Lisa Deaton, and I own a home photography studio in Fairfield Township, Ohio, and it's called LD Images Photography.
Great. Gina.
Good morning. Hey, I'm Gina Ferraro, and I'm a brand ambassador for a bunch of different businesses, mainly Land of Illusion. And we are looking to get together some corporate outings, plan some birthday parties for the summer. If you're into that for our Aqua Adventures, reach out to me. I look forward to talking to you. Gina from Land of Illusion.
Great. Carol, you want to introduce yourself and what company you're with?
Yeah, hi, I'm Darryl Bashir. I'm with Payroll Partners.
Thanks for being here.
You're
Laura.
welcome.
Hello, I'm Laura Merrill with the Greater Hamilton Chamber.
Jason.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Michael Miller, Director of Membership and Engagement for the Greater Hamilton Chamber.
Great. And Dan already introduced himself, so I guess we'll turn it over to Bill.
Well, good morning. My name is Bill Richter. I'm with Stop Pest Control. I'm the owner. So I appreciate everybody coming in and listening to our talk today and watching on Facebook. And did you say Instagram as well or
Zoom.
YouTube.
YouTube?
Oh,
I'm
Zoom.
sorry, I
Yeah.
missed that. So basically, today I'd like to just kind of talk about Summer Pest Uncovered. The biggest issues that you're going to deal with through the summer, your number one pests and your number two pest and your number three pest. And we'll talk about those today. So at this point, would I share my screen or how would we start this at this point?
You can share your screen, and at the end, if you want us to send the presentation to anyone, we can do that as well.
Yeah, Bill, you'll just hit the green share screen button at the bottom, and then it'll let you pick what window your presentation's in.
Gotcha. Sorry, I'm not real familiar with this. So we'll go with that. Did that bring it up?
No.
There might be a pop-up. If you're sharing the screen, there might be a pop-up screen. Let me see here. I'm going to try to share mine really quick.
Oh, here we go. I figured it out.
You got it.
So
Perfect.
is it on there right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right. So basically, welcome again. I apologize for my ignorance of doing Zoom because I don't usually share screens and do this. I usually am listening on the other end like you guys. So this morning, we'd like to talk about the summer pest uncovered, ants, termites, and mosquitoes. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about our company. One Stop Pest Control was formed in Cincinnati in January of 2012. This makes us about 13 plus years old. It is operated by myself and my wife, Angie. We are the sole owners. We are looking to grow on the commercial side as well as the residential side of the business and make a difference in the communities that we serve. We are not publicly traded. We are not a franchise, and we do not have any other branches in the area, just the one here located in Miami Town, Ohio. We are an active member of the Cincinnati community, and our reputation for and traction in the area is what drives our business success, along with our customer service. We do service all 3 states in the tri-state area, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. So if you have people that you know that need our assistance over in those areas, we can definitely help them. And we are also active members of multiple chambers, including Hamilton, Coleraine, and Harrison Chamber of Commerce. So the number one insect that you're going to be dealing with this summer is most likely going to be pavement ants. Now, these guys are the ones that we typically call picnic ants, or the ones when you're out in the woods having a picnic and the ants show up. These are usually the guys that you're going to run into. They're also the ones that you find on the pavement in the cracks where the dirt is coming up through the foundation or the sidewalk or those areas. So this is what an ant looks like, characteristic of it. And like I was just talking about with the feeding habits, picnic lunches and stuff like that, they typically like to eat sugars, oils and fats, starches, and protein. Adult ants in general are unable to feed on solids, so they squeeze the liquids from the particles and basically suck that out of there. So they're actually able to ingest the material that's coming out. Anybody have any questions in regards to that yet?
I think we're good so far.
Awesome, thank you. So as I was talking about, pavement ant mounds, this is generally what you'll see. I'm sure everybody has seen these most of the time when you're walking down the sidewalk. So that gives you just an idea of what they look like. I'm not sure how that got there, but I think so. Basically, the difference between a flying ant and a swarming ant and a flying termite, as you can tell, I think I kind of messed up my presentation here a little bit. I think it got moved around. But termites are small, social insects that feed on wood and other organic materials. They do play a crucial role in breaking down the dead plants, materials, and recycling nutrients back into the ecosystem. So when a tree does fall in the woods and termites get to it, they actually take all that nutrients and ingredients and stuff from those trees, and they actually deposit it back into the soil. And they also allow for the material to get back into the soil, and also allow for it to like aerate the soil as well, so oxygen and stuff like that can get down into the soil. So number 2 insect for the summer is going to be flying termites, swarmers, and these are eastern subterranean termites is what we're dealing with in our area. Sorry, I think it just skipped over to that.
Bill,
But
can I ask really quick?
Yeah.
With the flying termites, how often do people see flying termites? I don't know if I've ever recognized. I might have seen them, but just how regular are they?
That's a very good question, Jason. Basically, termites are typically going to swarm anywhere between March and June. Once the temperature gets above 70 degrees and we get about a 70% humidity in the air, the termites are actually looking for new colonies at that point because the colony has gotten too large. So they actually will swarm at that time to look for extra colonies and start another colony somewhere else. Now, generally speaking, when it comes to termite swarmers, they do look like an ant, but if you look at the difference between an ant and a termite, the ants actually have a pinched waist and they have 3 defined regions. So that's how you can tell the difference. And also the wings are different as well. Termites have 4 equal length wings, and ants have unequal length wings, 4 of them as well. But they are typically going to be your next insect that's going to start swarming. And we've had a couple already, and a couple churches that we work with, and a couple people's homes that have actually had swarmers so far this year since we've had 70-degree weather.
Bill, I have a question. Do flying ants do damage like a termite?
Flying ants typically do not do damage unless they are carpenter ants. The carpenter ants usually will fly and swarm in the fall. That's how you can tell the difference between which insect you're dealing with and which whether it's a termite or an ant.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this like a major problem if you have either? Like, do we need to get on the phone ASAP, or do they just kind of, because I always end up seeing a pile of wings and I'm like, oh, they were here.
A pile of wings. So
Yeah.
basically, a pile of wings is termites for sure.
Okay.
Because what they do is when they actually swarm, they actually drop their wings and they find a king and a queen, and then they hook up, and then they're supposed to go down into the soil and start a new colony. So if
Okay.
you're seeing just wings, that's definitely a sign of termites. And termites do a lot of damage, which I'll show you here in just a few moments
Hmm.
as we move to the next slide. But if you're definitely seeing that, you definitely need to have an inspection, something done.
Okay. I
Yep.
haven't seen it at this house, but I grew up on a farm, so I've seen them
Okay.
before. Yeah.
So you've probably seen them, especially being in a farm area.
Yeah.
Usually moisture and stuff like that attracts the termites to the area.
Okay.
Also woods and stuff like that, because they follow the root lines and things.
Ugh. All
Good
right. Thank
questions.
you.
Very good questions. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next slide. So I'm gonna show you basically what a termite swarm looks like. There's a little video here, so bear with me as I try to make sure that this works correctly. Do this right there.
Oh, heck.
So that's what swarming termites look like. And then typically, if you don't actually see a swarm tube, you will see a mud tube like you see here on the left, a sub-termite shelter tube. And those are located usually coming up through the foundation or an outside foundation wall or inside of a garage, sometimes underneath the front porch. It just depends on where they find an entry point to get into the house. And then live termites, these here, they actually are soldiers. They actually have pincers on the front of their head and thorax. And these are the ones that actually protect the colony from ant invasions. Because typically ants and termites usually have wars and they do not like each other. And if you've ever been doing yard work in your yard and you're digging up the mulch and you see little white guys like this, they look like a piece of rice with 6 legs. Those are termites that are actually in your mulch because they're attracted to all the moisture that the mulch holds. So it brings them to the surface. Usually, especially on an extremely warm day with the sun shining, they'll actually be up underneath of those areas in the mulch. So as we were just talking about as far as the type of damage, you can see here on this baseboard on the left, this is full of termite mud tubes and soil that they brought into the piece of wood. So what termites do is they actually will bring moisture and dirt with them to build their tunnels and make sure that everything is nice and cool. What they do is they deposit water to make sure that the humidity level inside the mud tubes and inside the damaged areas are actually moist so they don't dry out. And you can see on the right hand side over here, this is what it looks like when they eat the cellulose material of a 2x4. And you can tell typically from like the exterior, you can see at the bottom where the guy's holding it, it doesn't look like it's really damaged. But on the interior of that, you can tell that it's completely damaged and there's probably no structural integrity to that piece of 2x4.
Bill, can I ask, so how fast typically do termites do their big damage?
Very good question. So typically, if they can cause a lot of damage, but generally within a year, any given colony can eat anywhere from 1 to 2 foot of a 2x4 within a year. So significant damage can occur within that time frame. But if it goes unchecked, it can definitely, I've seen it go up to the second floor, up to the roof, and completely eat out sill plates, header boards, and joists, and cause a lot of damage and sinking of the house once that structural integrity is gone on like a sill plate area.
And Bill, I've got a question. So
Yes.
generally with a termite, maybe how quickly might you notice something going on?
Well, the biggest thing with that is if you see a mud tube or anything like dirt on the side of your foundation, there's a big difference between a mud dauber tube and a termite tube. And you can usually tell the difference on how it's built. But if you find anything of that nature, or if you do find wings or anything swarming over the next 3 months, then it's most likely going to be a good possibility it's a termite issue. And obviously, if you let it go too far and you don't notice the termites or a termite tube, if you're looking at your drywall and there's like indentions or little pinholes that look like a little bit of mud, that's where the termites have actually popped through the drywall, and then they tried to cover it up with a little bit of mud to make sure that the light doesn't get in there to dry them out.
Wonderful, thank you.
Good question.
Hi, Bill. This is Daryl. I have a question.
Yes, Daryl.
Are there different types of termites in this area, or is subterranean termite pretty much all that we see?
That's a very good question. There's typically only one termite that we find in our area. It's the eastern subterranean termite. In other parts of the U.S., we do have dry woods, we have damp woods, different types of termites in different areas, depending on where you're at, coastal regions, stuff like that. But in the Cincinnati area, in the tri-state area, we deal with mostly strictly eastern subterranean termites.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I'm gonna give you a couple things to know. I don't like to read a whole lot as far as like reading things off of here, but gives you kind of an idea of what you're looking at. Like I said before, termites look like a piece of rice with 6 legs. Like I showed you the picture in the mulch. You've definitely probably seen them for sure. Their habitat, they typically live underground and build mud tubes to travel between their colonies and food sources. So you will find them typically following old tree roots. That makes it a little bit easier because there's a gap. They can actually build tunnels across the roots, and they can also use that as food as well. Their primary food source is usually going to be wood, cardboard, carpet, insulation, and drywall paper. So a lot of people think that they actually eat the drywall. They actually eat the paper on the drywall, not the actual drywall itself. They'll tunnel through it, but they don't actually eat that, and they're not able to digest that. They are only able to digest the cellulose that is actually in the wood. Subterranean termites live in colonies with different castes, as I showed you just a moment ago. You've seen the soldiers with the pinchers, and they also have regular workers, which are the little white guys that look like rice with the 6 legs. And then there is also the reproductive termites, which are the swarmers that I showed you just a moment ago in that video. A colony usually contains thousands to millions of termites. They just continue to reproduce daily. And all the workers are usually feeding the queen, making sure that she's taken care of, and grooming the whole entire rest of the colony. Termites actually work 24/7, 24 hours a day. They work continuously to consume the wood and eat other cellulose-rich materials, which is, again, as I showed you with the pictures, it can cause extensive damage to buildings if you don't have an inspection and have it checked out. The one thing you can actually do when you have signs of infestation is if you're tapping on your baseboard, a lot of times people find termites in their baseboards because they're vacuuming, and they'll take the vacuum and they'll actually hit the baseboard, and all of a sudden the baseboard cracks and falls apart. And then they're like, oh, there's mud inside of here. Then there's also bugs running around. That's usually how you'll end up finding termites sometimes the wood just sounds hollow. So if you bump it with like a screwdriver or something like that, or even kick it with your foot or whatever, those are the areas that you can actually check and see, what the wood sounds like, because you can tell the difference when you're tapping on something hard and then something that's hollow when you're using a screwdriver or your foot. Also, you're looking for the mud tubes along the walls of the foundations, looking for anything the size of a pencil, and they can actually be anywhere from 2 to 3 inches wide as well, depending on how long that termite tube has been there. Anybody have any questions?
I don't see any questions right now.
Good deal.
I could actually ask one, Jason.
What you get?
What you might have said this, but I missed it if you did. What do flying ants do that's so terrible other than just be annoying? Is it like termites that are doing the damage, or like should we be concerned if we see flying ants too? Or are they just a nuisance?
Flying ants are definitely a nuisance, but if you're seeing flying ants inside your home, then that means that they've established a colony or something inside of the house. So
Oh,
the possibility is they could be inside of a door frame. They can be up in the insulation where your headerboard and your sill plate meet in the basement. If there's any cracks or crevices coming from the outside, you can see ants going in and out of those areas as well.
okay.
Like the weep holes or up underneath the siding is generally how that usually works.
So really, we just need to call you, say, hey, find wherever they've decided to live and get rid of them.
Exactly.
Okay,
Something of
but
that
they're
nature
not.
for sure.
Okay, cool. But they're not like eating the integrity of my house either.
No,
Okay.
like the payment ants are not, but the carpenter ants, they actually do a little bit of damage just as much as termites do.
Oh,
However, carpenter ants actually do not eat the wood. They actually tear the wood out. They have mandibles that they can actually grab the wood and rip it out, and they usually spit that wood out at the end of the nest, which is what we call frass. And it usually piles up along with dead bodies at the bottom where they're kicking everything out. If another ant dies, they kick him out and they throw him outside the nest, and you can tell that you got a carpenter ant nest issue at that point.
got it. Okay, you can see their little trails.
Yes, you can. Yep,
Okay,
you can definitely find the insects depending upon what they've thrown out of their nest, and that's usually
yeah.
a tall tale sign of where that nest is usually going to be located.
Okay, cool. Hopefully we don't have to see that anytime soon, but thank
Let's
you.
hope not. Yeah, absolutely. But the idea of this is just to kind of give you an idea of what things to look for.
Yeah,
So in your house and your work, your place of business or whatever is going on, if you find stuff like this, it's always good to be proactive or reactive in some cases to make sure it gets taken care of.
cool. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Bill, I have a question.
What you got?
How often do you see this in new construction
As far as
or
termites,
newer construction?
as far as termites go,
Yeah.
typically being that they've done dug up all that dirt and moved everything around, you typically will not see termites in an area from anywhere from 5 to 10 years for the most part. Now, it also depends upon the how much pressure there is of termites and how much moisture there is. But generally, if they went through and they've dug out the house and dug out the foundation, they're digging down on 5 to 10 feet. That has destroyed all of the termites tubes and tunnels and stuff like that to get from one place to the other. So it takes a little bit more time for them to redo everything because everything gets packed down.
Great, thank you. That I have a reprieve then
Yes,
for a few
absolutely.
years.
Yeah, we just built a house we actually just closed on it a month ago, and we pre-treated our house to make sure it was treated for termites before, just so nothing would come up through the front porch, through the garage, depending upon how much pressure is in the area. So it's definitely a good thing to have done previously if you're building a house, or have a treatment done after the fact, just as a preventative measure, just to make sure nothing gets past you. Good question. All right. So my next slide here just gives you a little bit of fun facts about termites, if there are any. Some colonies, they can actually live for decades. They are very social insects. They communicate with vibrations and pheromones. So as they're passing each other in those tunnels, they're actually communicating and talking and that type of stuff to make sure what's going on, where a food source is, that type of stuff. I told you earlier, ants and termites, they have wars. They literally will actually cut each other in half and kill each other. And termites, to digest the cellulose that is actually in the wood, they actually produce a unique enzyme that breaks down the cellulose in the wood, and it's called protozoa. So they have protozoa that is actually inside of their gut that actually breaks down the cellulose. So there's no other insects out there that actually can break down the cellulose in wood besides termites that have protozoa in their gut. And the food web, basically, for other birds and mammals, termites are a great food source for insects, birds, and small mammals. Just recently, I was actually where a swarm was happening, coming up out of a tree stump, and birds were all over it. They were coming over and grabbing all the winged termites, and they were eating the termites and taking off with them and coming back and going back and forth and eating pretty much most of the insects. However, a lot of the insects did get loose, and they did get, move on and fly to different areas. But it was actually pretty interesting to see the circle of life there, where the birds were actually eating the insects.
So, Bill, I have a question.
Yes.
I had heard before, and I don't know how you feel about this, that if you mulch around your house, that you should keep it away from the foundation of your house.
I would definitely recommend that if you're using mulch around the outside of the house, I would definitely try to keep it away from the house at least a couple inches. The one big thing that we find most of the time is that most people, they usually don't remove the old mulch, and they just mulch over top of the old mulch and just make it thicker and heavier, which provides more of a moisture a habitat for the termites and other insects as well. But basically, what we usually find is people will build that mulch up, and it'll go over top of the foundation where the brick and the foundation meet, or where the vinyl and the foundation meet, and they'll cover that up. Well, the problem with that is then you can no longer see your foundation, and you cannot tell if there is actually any termite tubes going up the foundation as you're walking around the house or doing anything outside. So that's a very good question, and we run into that every single day when we have termite issues.
And Bill, I've got a question. So, I've heard that termites will live like a certain distance apart from each other. So, like my house might have termites, but my neighbor's house might not, and then it would be like the other side of them.
Gotcha. So typically, that's kind of a myth in a way, because termites, they'll be anywhere from 10 to 15 colonies on a given acre. So generally, they will coincide with each other, but generally they don't cross paths, and they don't bring the colonies together. So that's generally what will happen. The thing is with termites is if your house could have termites, and they will forage up to 300 feet away from your house. So they may skip that house for whatever reason, they just didn't run into it. Because termites are blind, they don't actually know what they're looking for. They're just going through the soil and digging through the soil and looking for a place where it's got moisture, humidity, dark, cryptic conditions. And that's typically when they run into the house, they'll find the foundation, and then they'll follow it straight up and get into the wood. So just by blind luck, they just missed that house. They went a different direction and went around to the next one.
Thank you.
So,
Oh,
Bill,
yes.
I have another question. Are there,
Yes.
In older homes where the wood is like hard as a rock, hard, is that still as susceptible to termite infestation?
Typically they will not generally eat through that they won't generally destroy that, but what they will do is they'll scab across the top of it. So there'll be like a termite tube going across the top, and they'll eat the first little quarter of an inch, and then they decide that they're kind of lazy. They would much rather eat a piece of 2x4 pine 2x4, because that's easier to digest and quicker to go through. So what they will usually do is they'll follow that along until they can find the next easier piece of wood to actually chew on.
Okay.
Okay, so for the next slide, we're actually going to switch over from termites, ants and termites over to mosquito, because that's going to be the next thing that pops up somewhere around May. And the most of the mosquito that we deal with around here is the Aedes aegypti, which is generally your black and white mosquito that you see flying around. They have black and white markings on its legs. The females are way larger than their male counterparts. The males actually live off of fruit and like nectar and different stuff like that comes off of the trees and off of the branches and things. And a lot of people think that all mosquitoes do bite. That is actually incorrect. Females are the only ones that bite for the blood because she needs that to be able to lay her eggs. She has to have a blood meal before she can actually lay eggs. Females are attracted to ammonia, carbon dioxide, lactic acid, and acetanol. Not quite sure what that is, but they are attracted to different, when you're breathing and stuff like that, so they know where you're at and they can find you. So these are a couple pictures of what they actually look like up close. A little bit of fuzz on their back, and they also have a big antennae that's sticking out. And then as you can tell, they have a piercing part. That's what actually sticks through your skin and allows them to actually suck the blood out of your skin. I do have a short video here that actually gives you a little bit of information about an in-two care system that we actually use that actually does not hurt bees or butterflies or anything beneficial. Unlike doing like sprays, misting of all the trees, all the bushes, which is actually gets to off-target pests like butterflies and things like that, things that we don't want to kill. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this.
Bill, what was happening when the mosquito touched the water in the what do you call it? Oh gosh, the gutter.
In the gutter.
Yeah.
So basically, the material that we use actually it attaches to the mosquito. So what happens is when she lays her eggs in that first batch, that material has already been contaminated, or that water's been contaminated. So she actually picks it up and then she flies to the next spot breeding area to drop more eggs. And as she touches that water, it actually spreads and contaminates that water. So none of those eggs can actually come to fruition. So they won't be able to anything farther than that little thing that's swiggling around in the water. The larvae, that's as big as they'll get. They'll eventually die, and then they'll go down to the bottom and just sit there. But the one
So
good
this
thing
system
about
lasts.
go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, just gonna ask. The system lasts for one complete season, does it?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, does this system last for one complete season?
Yes, it's that basically is a monthly service where we come out and introduce new material into that bait station to attract the mosquitoes to it. So it's a monthly thing. It usually goes from about April all the way up until about the end of October, right when it gets cold, and then at that point we pick up the stations and clean them and get them ready for the next season.
Okay, good.
So, of course, obviously, we deal with a lot of different um, diseases from mosquitoes. The typical one that we usually hear about from around here is usually going to be Zika, which obviously gives you fever, red eyes, joint pain, and headache. Diagnosis is just by testing the blood, urine, or saliva from the virus. The other ones we don't really see a whole lot around here, but these are also the other diseases that you can get from getting a mosquito bite. So it's very important to be careful when you're out in the backyard and stuff like that. Just make sure you're taking precautionary measures to try not to get bit. There are a lot of different sprays and stuff like that to make sure that that you're not getting bit. So just be careful of that. All right. So I like to show like different areas on where harborages can be found for mosquitoes because a lot of us leave things around the outside of the house. And a little bit of water is all it takes to actually lay eggs for a mosquito and actually have a mosquito problem. As you can see on the right here, a bottle cap is all they need to breed. Just a little bit of water. If you have a deck or something, you have say beer bottle caps or just a pop cap somebody dropped and couldn't pick up or whatever. Those areas will hold water and the mosquitoes will find it and they will lay eggs and you will actually have a problem at that point. It's no different than anything on the left. If you have open trash cans, clogged up rain gutters, which are holding water, a tire swing in the back, anything that's holding moisture will allow mosquitoes to breed. Even in the tree holes, like the far back here on the back area, if there's a hole in the tree, they'll lay their eggs inside of that because a lot of times the water will hold in there and give them just enough water to breed. So this will give you the idea as far as what the inside of a tree looks like as it gets rotted out. This definitely holds the moisture. And that's exactly where they'll end up having a nest, as well as the tire that's sitting on the ground. If you guys have ever seen that, you know that you go to move a tire and there's usually a bunch of water in it, and you usually get it all over you, and it's usually stinky because it's been sitting there and it's been stagnant, and the mosquitoes have been using it for their breeding source. All right, I think that's it for me. And anybody have any questions, anything I can answer for you, help out, give you suggestions, anything of that nature?
Bill, I do.
I do have a
Sorry,
quick
so
question.
go ahead.
Sorry. Should I go?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, Bill, so I heard you mention the thing about the mulch. I'm actually gonna do some landscaping around my house coming up soon.
Yes.
And now I don't want to do mulch. So what do you suggest?
Well, typically, what we typically will suggest is usually like stone,
Okay.
something of that nature that will allow the water to drain off.
Yeah.
The mulch is bad because it just holds moisture. It also gives an environment for almost any other insects that's going to be around your house: centipedes, millipedes, pill bugs, that type of stuff. Box elder bugs, which are out right now, the red and black ones, they're out swarming. They're all attracted to those moisture areas. So that would be what our recommendation usually would be, to allow water to run off.
Now I usually get that whatever that material is that comes in a spool, and you roll it out and you
roll it out like the weed guard.
Is that bad to use those?
Typically those actually allow water and moisture to drain through, so you should be okay with that.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank
absolutely.
you.
You're welcome.
So Bill, I know this wasn't about bees or wasps, but I wondered if bees and wasps would cause wood damage problems like termites and carpenter ants.
Good question, Daryl. There is bees out there that actually are called carpenter bees. They actually do drill into the wood, like on the outside of a fascia board, or wood decks or awnings. Anything that's not protected by covered by metal or not painted. Typically, carpenter bees will drill a 1/2 inch hole up inside of the wood. They'll go to the left or to the right, and they'll drill that out, and they'll lay eggs, and the eggs will actually hatch, and then they'll drill their way out through the fascia board, and that's where you see a lot of damage from the insect coming out, or also woodpeckers come in trying to get the eggs that the carpenter bees have laid. So if you've ever seen like yellow spots or streaks coming down the wall and seen a bunch of big thick bees flying around, those are going to be your carpenter bees that are causing that damage.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions? Bill, I did want to affirm, I know that you said you were a little nervous, but I think that you did such a fantastic presentation. You provided great insight in a very concise manner. And I know that you said you're not technology savvy, but you were able to also play the videos and not have any, hiccups. So I thought this was such an awesome conversation. You made it interactive, and I think everyone is super engaged. So I just want to affirm that and thank you for taking the time. Now, oh, sorry, Gina, did you want to say something?
I have one more little tiny question.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I get an issue with those little tiny, you could barely see them, baby ants. And they're like, you see them on your kitchen sink, and it's like, where the heck did you even come from?
Right.
So how do you prevent that? And what's the best way to just get rid of that?
Well, typically, if they're coming, they're most likely coming from the exterior, obviously, because that's where ants come from.
Right.
So I would probably look around the exterior of the foundation, where the foundation meets the brick or the siding, depending on how your house is built.
Yeah, great.
And if you find a trail, obviously, I would probably wait until later this afternoon before you walk around the outside, because it's going to be nice and warm. The ants are usually going to trail in the same trail. They follow the same pheromone trail. So you could find that area, be able to treat that area, or you can also use some caulk and seal off that hole where they can't get into that area of the house.
Oh my gosh, perfect. Okay, cool.
And then, of course, if you can't figure it out, then we can definitely help you.
And then I'll call you.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Have a great day.
I'll just add to that. We every year have a little bit of issue with ants, and then they kind of disappear. And one year they came and they attacked the house. They didn't disappear. And it was Bill that found out they were coming out of a tree, the ground next to the tree. They were going all the way around our house and coming in the other side on the kitchen.
Yep.
So,
which is crazy, but it happens.
I never looked on that side of the house because that's not where I saw them.
Exactly.
And Bill, would you like to share your information in case anyone has any questions and like to follow up with you?
Sure. Actually, I did not put that on a slide. So I'm Bill with One Stop Pest Control. You can reach us at 513-888-9576. Or you can check out our website at www.onestop.pestcontrol.com.
For URL, is that a #1 or a ONE?
It is a #1. I'm sorry.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
And Bill, I'm going to send a thank you to everyone that attended today as well. So just to confirm, it's 513-888-9576.
You got it.
Awesome. All right. If no one has any more questions, I'm going to do a little wrap up. So we at the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce are always looking at ways to engage with the community and other businesses, offering roundtables, coffee, and conversations such as today with an array of topics. Coming up next, we have the Shared Harvest volunteer opportunities that are going on throughout the year. It's a great way for team building, making an impact. We also have Dine to Donate with Butler Tech. Oh, sorry, Dine to Donate, sorry, with Inspiration Studios and Casual Pint happening today. We also have Wine, Dine, and Bingo time at Alexander's Market and Deli from 6 to 8 p.m. You can register or RSVP on our Facebook page, Hamilton's Facebook. We also have a networking leads lunch happening at Psycha Pack March 18th. Make sure that you register. Typically for networking events, the attendees will get their own food, but for this networking, we are providing the food as well. Laura, who are we providing the food from?
Barney Risbeck with State Farm Insurance is sponsoring lunch, and he is going to be providing lunch from Raymond's Pizza.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Coming up on March 19th, we have the first of 3 leadership series with Cindy Keidel, one of our business coaches with the Chamber. This session is going to be Great Leaders, Made or Born. This is going to be an awesome session. And Cindy, would you like to share anything about that?
Yes, hi everybody. I'm so excited about this. I'll be moderating a panel of 3 of our illustrious CEOs in the area, and you'll find this online where you can register. The registrations are coming in quite high, actually. So although we'll be doing it on Facebook Live, there's a possibility we might move it to one of the auditoriums of one of the speakers. So very excited about that. I
Yes.
think this is a great way to learn from people who've been there, done that, and are CEOs currently of companies.
Yes, and thank you for putting that together, Cindy. I just have a few more items to chat about. We also have a Dunk and Donate benefit by Butler Tech. This is to help with tools for school. This is a way to provide tools for students that might need assistance. Fitton Center is doing the Fitton Showstoppers on March 22nd, and Dunk and Donate is March 21st. I did not say. Our next Coffee and Conversation is going to be about Alzheimer's awareness on March 25th. Again, you can register on our website, hamilton-ohio.com. We also have the HR Roundtable series. It's all about the generational divide in the workforce. And then the last thing I'll remind you about is our red carpet luncheon coming up March 27th. Champions of Diversity, Inspiring Stories. You guys do not want to miss on March 27th. That's all I have. I'm going to send this in a recap email for all of you. I look forward to seeing you there. And thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day,
Thank you.
everyone. Thanks.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.